Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Conn and the Stick, and we are finally going to be wrapping up our divisional breakdown in the NFL. We end with the AFC West, and I think I speak for both myself and you, and we saying that this is the tightest division that we have so far, Mr. Nick Smith.
From top to bottom, yeah, it is. When we went over to NFC North, with Chicago, and with Detroit, Green Bay, Vikings, they're pretty close. But from 1 through 4, yeah, this is probably the most complete division. All these teams have been in the playoffs not too long ago.
Yeah, I think complete with the fact that obviously we predicted who we think is going to win this division, but I think when I say like tight knit, I think that every single one of these teams has a chance at winning the division this year.
Oh yeah, no, I could agree with that. Especially being in the AFC, it helps these guys out a lot. But it's like you said, usually each division has a team that has no shot. Even probably the last place team, they have a chance of winning a few extra games, maybe getting a wild card spot. But from top to bottom, definitely the most competitive division in the NFL.
Absolutely. So without further ado, let's go into this AFC West, and it was a fun division to cover because I think that we had a lot of close records in it too. So I think it is going to come down to the wire. But let's go with who we think. I think both of us believe that this is the team that's going to win the division. We start with one, Los Chargers. Big Phil down the helm.
I love Philip Rivers. He's been one of my favorite quarterbacks for as long as I can remember. I tried drafting him on my fantasy team every single year. A very accurate passer. He knows the game well. He's good at making audible calls at the line. He's been in the league for a very long time, same as Eli and Big Ben. I think they were all in the same draft, drafted in top 10 or so.
I think Big Ben
might have been a little bit down.
I think he did slide pretty far.
Yeah, just not. Eli and Philip Rivers got traded for each other too, right?
Yeah. Eli did not want to go play for San Diego at the time, so they traded Philip Rivers Philip Rivers was drafted by the Giants.
Yeah. It's crazy how things change around, Now Eli's two-time Super Bowl
obviously
champ,
the big question was, could have Philip Rivers have won a Super Bowl with the Giants?
I honestly think Philip Rivers is better than Eli, but you know what? Eli had that clutch gene in the playoffs, and hats off to him. But I'm just a huge Philip Rivers fan. I love what he could do. He's had his good offense. I felt like when he had his really good offenses, his defense wasn't there. And then when the defense started to pick off, he started to lose some guys on offense. But I think this year, the team as a whole could finally get it back going and make a good playoff run.
Absolutely. So, and it's not like Philip Rivers it doesn't have a lot of talent around him either. He's got the running back duo of Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler, who really exploded last season. But Melvin Gordon, definitely a top guy and definitely somebody you have a chance to do a lot with.
Oh yeah, the thing, Melvin Gordon, his first year in the league or so, wasn't on a hot start at all. It took some time for him to really develop, but last year, like you said, he exploded. He had a lot of rushing touchdowns. He's great on the ground. I think even the passing game, he's pretty solid. Mm-hmm. It just really, it's a big thing too. Just on the receiving side, Keenan Allen was finally healthy, and that extra man on the outside that can make plays for you, I think maybe it opened up the running game a little bit for Melvin Gordon.
Keenan Allen finally. That's been a guy that's been on and off with health, but we finally see a much healthier side of Keenan Allen, especially last year. But it's a wide receiving core that's got a lot of depth. You got 4 guys that right now I just look at and I'm saying, man, those are guys that all can do their job. Tyrell Williams was a guy that 2 years ago that stepped into almost Keenan Allen's role, and he performed really well, came out of nowhere. Travis Benjamin, the speedster.
Solid, yeah.
The speedster Travis Benjamin definitely making plays from the slot. And my X factor for them this year, Mike Williams, the first-round draft pick last year for the Chargers from Clemson. Didn't play, I think, almost all season, if I'm not.
I don't think he played at all, really. Maybe
due to injury. But definitely a guy that has the talent to go and win those one-on-one battles in the red zone. Great hands. And also that Clemson wide receiving gene, and it just
Oh
it's a
yeah,
bug.
yeah. No, they've all been really good. No, like you said, this offense is pretty well rounded. Receivers are really good. Got good running back. I love the quarterback. Tight end. They don't have Hunter Henry
Hunter
anymore.
Henry
He's
tore his
gone.
ACL, so
Yeah.
that just that was my
That's a big
biggest
blow.
heartbreak because
Yeah.
that was a guy I've had in fantasy the last 2 years, and he's been so good for me.
Yeah, he's filled in right for Antonio Gates' spot, and like he was really doing well. A huge injury because Hunter Henry was a great offensive playmaker. Who's their tight end now? I'm actually not even
Virgil Green from Denver.
Denver. It's gonna be a little bit of blow to the offense, but I think they have enough playmakers around them to really still be solid and put points
Right.
up on the board.
And it's also an offensive line. You know, they grabbed Mike Pouncey from Miami, who's a very solid starter. I mean, he has a couple. He's got some problems with some holding calls. Dan Feeney is a guy they drafted a couple years ago that's going to be good. I think Forrest Lamp, he tore his ACL early last season. They get him back, which is going to be good. Joe Barksdale is a very good right tackle. So definitely an offensive line that's going to hold its own and help keep Rivers in the pocket.
Yeah, no, good offensive line is going to help pass the game and run game. Also, another reason why Melvin Gordon, I just expect another great season from him. And having Williams back healthy is only going to help him out more. Just try to spread out the defense. And no, I expect solid numbers from this Chargers offense this year.
And even good. I mean, what makes it the Chargers offense looks really good right now, but I mean, it looks really good defensively too. I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is, bam, you got a solid, or even above average defensive line. I mean, you got Bosa, Brandon Mebane, Corey Allegiant, and Melvin Ingram, all guys that are big starters in this league, and that's going to be the X factor on the defense is how much pass rush I think that they're going to be able to generate.
Oh no, it's huge. Like Bosa's a huge threat on the outside, rushing the quarterback. He showed last year he can make plays, and like we said in previous podcasts, just getting to the quarterback, it's the difference right now in the NFL. It's passing league. If you get to the quarterback, you know what? They're not going to make their plays. If you get a sack here and there, you put them in second and third and long, and you're putting the ball back in the hands of your highly potent offense. Now this defense, they're really good. They're one of the better ones in the AFC, and they're just gonna get after you, and that's what you gotta do.
Absolutely, and so we go to the linebacking core, which is manned down by Denzel Perriman. Jatavis Brown was very good for them last year, and then we go to the secondary, and Derwin James is going to be manning down that secondary, a free safety. It's going to be great to see him play. They actually got him really in the mid round, which was very surprising to me because I thought that was a top 10 guy with just his ability to make plays and the defense. And people don't know how good of a corner Casey Hayward is. He's just been lights out for the Chargers last 2 years, especially stepping into this main role of being the starting quarterback with Jason Verrett, who's also hurt. So Casey Hayward's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders.
Yeah, no, he does. Injury to Verrett's definitely a huge blow. It's tough to replace guys like that, but next guy just gotta step up and do the best that they can. They got solid guys around them, so they could like play with the defense, do certain packages, to like help fill that void. But I think they got enough weapons on this defense to really hold opposing offenses to a limited amount of points.
I think that's the key, really, in this division is the fact that they have the best combination of offense and defense. If I'm not,
oh no, certainly they definitely are the most well-rounded team in this division. Just looking at the other sides, Oakland got a good offense, Denver got a great defense, and then Chiefs, they got good. None of those other teams really are great on both sides, unlike Chargers are.
So we go to the schedule, and we start off. I got them going 10-6. I think that this is a team that I think it's long overdue that they've been making the playoffs. They had a slow start last year. They went 0-4, and then they picked it up. I think they finished 9-7 or 8-8, something like that.
They finished 9-7.
9-7.
Yeah.
So I mean, you eliminate those first 4 weeks where you just had mistakes late in the game, and I know that they missed a field goal
I think
week
it was
one
two
against
games they missed field goals and
right at the
lost.
end. I know
Yeah.
they missed a late field goal against the Dolphins week 2, which obviously I'm a happy
Yeah, you're happy about
guy,
that.
but they lost an overtime comeback game. I believe Alex Smith ran in the overtime touchdown. Actually, that wasn't week 1. I'm thinking 2 years ago. But I mean, you just you don't know with the Chargers, but I think that this is finally the year where they get over that hump. They go 10-6. So before I go back to my 3 games, what do you got them going?
I got them going 11-5, so fairly similar, just an extra game. But no, just they're the best team in this division. They're like we said, most well-rounded. But last year they could have definitely been 11-5, 10-6 as well. It just like we said, I think they even started 0-5 maybe to start the season, and just I know 2 games for a fact they missed game-winning field goals at the end. They dropped their kicker right away, and then they got someone else. I don't remember who, but they ended up the season on fire. They won 9 of their last 11.
Right.
So I think they're more of that team we saw at the end of last season, and I expect them to
And that's
win the
right,
division.
and that's been the problem with the Chargers is that they haven't been able to finish games, and that's really the difference that I think that they need to improve on. They just got to finish. I mean, I remember 2 years ago in Miami, Phillip Rivers had 4 interceptions in the fourth quarter, which led to a Dolphins comeback. They were down by at least 14, 17 points. They came back because Phillip Rivers had 4 interceptions in the fourth quarter. It was just they just got to be able to finish games in order to get back to the playoffs, but we think that they will. So my 3 games to watch is obviously week 3 against the Rams. They're not really don't have to travel anywhere. It's going to be a Rams home game, just like the Jets and the Giants. They're 2 teams that share a stadium. It's going to be the Los Angeles Bowl. And as much as I have the Rams winning that game, obviously, but definitely something that's going to be. I think that the Chargers can actually make a push into even upset the Rams there. I got week 7 against the Titans. I think that's two pretty well matched teams that are going to go at it. I know that was the one thing I was like, wow, that actually has the potential to be a really good game. And then week 17 against Denver, which could ultimately, I think, it's clutch. I mean, that's really close in my book. It could be a division title right there.
Oh no, certainly. Yeah, I actually 2 of the games you nailed around the head. That week 3 game, just LA against LA, and it's the first time that's happening. So it's gonna be certainly entertaining to watch. See how the fans and crowd reacts. So that's just, and there's also 2 really good teams. Both the Rams are phenomenal, and Chargers are winning this division. So just gonna be a great game to watch. And then week 17 against Denver. Denver is also a really good team. I don't think it's going to be the deciding factor who wins the division. You never know, though. Maybe a few things could fall Denver's way, but just you got to love a divisional game end of season. Denver's at home, so they got the advantage there. Should be a really good game to watch. And just looking through the schedule, week 13 at Pittsburgh, I just want to see how this Chargers team matches up against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, huge powerhouse. They're playing at Pittsburgh as well. Big Ben versus Phillip Rivers, same draft class. Just 2 great teams going at it. Possible playoff, divisional round game or AFC championships. I think that's another game we should keep our eyes on.
Well, and so we got the Chargers ahead of everyone else. Let's do the Denver Broncos, because I think that when it comes to Denver, I think that they just haven't been able to figure out a quarterback. Since Peyton's gone, the Super Bowl, and they put Trevor Siemian in there, and Paxton Lynch, and Brock Osweiler. So there's been a huge quarterback carousel going on in Denver. And then they go and grab a guy like Case Keenum, a journeyman in his own right, played for Houston, played for the Rams.
Vikings last year.
And played for the Vikings, but he's always been okay to decent. And then he goes to Minnesota last year, and he just steps into a role after Sam Bradford gets hurt, and he played really well and got him all the way to the NFC Championship game. So can Case Keenum repeat that with a team like Denver?
I'm looking at the two teams like the Vikings and Denver, like how Keenum could translate from one team to the other. These two teams kind of look fairly similar to me. They both got really good defenses. And then I think of the Vikings, they had Thielen and Diggs, two really good receivers. And you go to the Broncos, you got Sanders and Thomas. Like they drop the ball from time to time. They have their issues, but these are still very talented guys, and they can make plays happen. So I feel like if the offensive system could work for Keenum, he could definitely succeed on this team. In my opinion, he's definitely going to do better than what Denver's had in the last few years.
Right.
So that's definitely an upgrade. Are they a playoff team? Maybe borderline wild card. It's going to be close. They're going to need a few games to fall their way, but getting Keenum at quarterback is definitely a huge upgrade for this team. Even though he's not that superstar type of guy, he's definitely serviceable for this team, and he has solid receivers around him, which I think can help him out.
I think that, I think that you still got a couple more years out of Emmanuel Sanders. I think Demaryius Thomas is on his way out soon. You draft two wide receivers during this, Deshaun Hamilton, and then the guy who I thought shouldn't have gotten past 15 picks in the first round, and he went into the second, and Denver picked him up. Not as Emmanuel Sanders' replacement, but Demaryius Thomas's, because Cortland Sutton is a big dude. He can go up and grab the ball better than I think anybody in this draft class. He is, I think, going to be the best receiver out of that draft class. And I think of guys like Calvin Ridley got taken before him. I think DJ Moore was actually the first guy off the board the first wide receiver off the board. So I think that Cortland Sutton, really the uncertainty is his route running ability and his speed. He doesn't have. He needs to work on his route running. He needs to work on his speed. But speed's really not something you can teach. But I think that eventually, and I've seen it during the preseason so far, Cortland Sutton's going to be big for the Broncos, and I think that that's going to be a guy that's going to be key in the red zone because Demaryius Thomas, he's coming for your job. I think the big uncertainty really is at the running back position because, they drafted Devontae Booker a couple years ago, and then it just didn't work out. He's got to replace. They got C.J. Anderson's gone. So Royce Freeman was a third, fourth-round running back. That's a guy that when you're a rookie and you're a third, fourth-round, I think that's going to be the guy that's going to have to step into that role, and that's not easy to do.
Oh, no, it's definitely not easy to do. Running back, very tough position to play. Just you'd take a beating almost every time again, the ball, these big, huge linebackers and D-linemen, they're pounding you. But this Denver running game, it really hasn't been, I can't remember the last time their running game was anything all that great. Like, it's just
2-3 years ago when C.J. Anderson played really well.
Yeah, he had like an all right year, but it was nothing like phenomenal. But I think maybe, I don't know. I feel like this running attack is going to be tough for them. I would like to see them get it going, but maybe it's the one flaw in this offense. Just they haven't found a way to really get it going on the ground. And you know what? That's a great way to help out Keenum, help him ease into the team a little bit instead of just slinging the ball around. But for Denver's sake, hopefully maybe the offensive line can really get it going, and hopefully these running backs can maybe help out their quarterback.
And they get Jake Butt, who's a very good tight end for Michigan. They get him back after being out all last year with injury. And Jeff Hireman actually had a pretty decent season with the Broncos. They let go of A.J. Derby for him. So let's hopefully he can step into a role like that. And then let's go to the defensive side now. And my question mark here is, at 5, they grabbed Bradley Chubb, which was, to grab somebody as a steal at 5 that's a testament to how good this guy is. I just remember watching his tape. I said, man, this guy is just amazing. He can do it all. But this is a 3-4 defense, and he is an edge rusher. Now they got to play an outside backer. Do you think that might be a tough translation? Because, they might have to ask you to go drop into coverage.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I guess he's just going to learn with time. They may just use him in certain packages where they just have him rushing, but you know what? It's going to tip off the offense if he's only in there. If he's in there, he's only going to rush. So he's going to have to learn how to drop back and pass at some point. I think Jadeveon Clowney is the same way in Houston. I think he was just mainly a pass rusher, and then he's playing outside linebacker too, I think, there, right?
Yeah, I think
So
so.
it's almost like the same situation. But you know what? These guys are getting coached by world class coaches. You know what? You got to figure it out. He's getting paid millions of dollars. You know what? You got to change. You got to adapt to the way the NFL is. You can't be one dimensional. But he's one hell of a player. He can certainly rush a passer, and it's what this league's looking for. And it also helps you out a lot when you have a guy like Von Miller
Oh yeah, it's
to
a
really help
guy.
him out.
You look at stuff like that, especially in the draft when you have rookies, and it's like, all right, who can I learn from? I mean, there's no better guy for this to learn how to play outside backer than Von Miller, who might be the best one there. So it's definitely a plus for Bradley Chubb, and from what we've seen in the preseason, I mean, he's been doing really well himself. Uh, Man down, obviously, a 3-4 defense. Derek Wolfe, Dominic Pecco, Adam Gotts, all really talented guys. Man down, Brandon Marshall and Todd Davis in the middle. Von Miller, no need to say
Yeah,
anything.
nothing. He's phenomenal. That's all you
And
need to
then
know.
I look at this talent that they have in the secondary, and it's pretty good. I mean, I see a lot of notable names. Chris Harris is a guy that I think is one of the most underrated corners in the league. Nobody really talks about the work that Chris Harris does. But I think he's better than Aqib Talib when he was
Oh no,
playing there.
definitely, no, definitely better than Talib in my opinion. Talib's also getting up there in age. He's been around a while, but no, Harris has just been really consistent. Keeps guys at the end zone,
Lockdown
and
man corner.
yeah, no, he's really good. He's definitely a guy that anyone would want on their team. It always helps to have a guy that can just do their best to shut down opposing receiver, one-on-one coverage. Like any defense would love to have a guy
Especially
like that.
playing against the Tyreek Hills and the Keenan Allens and the Amari Coopers.
Coopers, yeah. No, he got some tough matchups, but you know what? He holds his own, and that's for sure.
And you got Bradley Roby, Darian Stewart, and Justin Simmons rounding out the secondary. And I mean, they just signed Pac-Man Jones to a contract the other day.
He's got to be up there in age too. I feel like he's been around forever. Well, hopefully he stays out of trouble. But you know what? He's been a talented player. He is older now, but he's shown some signs of he's been good. But you know what? We got to see how he's going to do this year, and wish him the best.
So now we go to our records here, and I pondered over this a little bit. I sat there and I looked and I said, which games are winnable for Denver? Which games are not winnable? But it just I think 8-8 was around the mark that I ended up finally giving them after a while, because I think that there's definitely some games here that I say, you know what. I mean, you're playing Pittsburgh. I don't think you're going to win that. You're playing the Rams. I don't think you're going to win that. At Baltimore is going to be tough because the Ravens play really tough at home. But other these games just seem winnable. I mean, they're not going to win all the rest of them, but I think that a lot of these games are winnable. And that's what I saw when I was looking at Denver's schedule. I said, there's not really any. It's not as tough as we've seen other teams, especially like in the NFC East. I'm pretty sure they're playing the South and the North, the AFC North, something like that. But like it's just. I think the schedule plays in their favor for them to have a good enough year to even make a playoff run. So also my top three games really, well, week one against Seattle, that repeat from the Super Bowl that Denver just got blown out in that one. So I mean this is going to be an interesting fight to see. Case Keenum's first game as a Bronco, how the offensive line of the Seattle Seahawks can be able to contain Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. I think it's going to be a very interesting game to watch, and definitely something I'm going to be watching at 425. Let's see here. I mean, at San Francisco, I think that's two evenly matched teams going at it. It's definitely late in the season. Both teams are probably going to be making playoff pushes by then. Definitely going to be interesting to see. And then I always love watching Denver and Kansas City play. Something always crazy happens, whether it's a late field goal that bounces off or, Dontari Poe throwing a touchdown on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, it's it's always good games to watch. I actually have the Broncos going 7-9. Yeah, like you said though, there's a lot of these games I was indecisive on. San Francisco game was one that definitely jumped off the bat because at first it was one of those games, even though San Francisco's home, I just felt it could go either way. I ended up giving San Francisco the win, but it's definitely a very winnable game for the Broncos. But just from like week 8 to week like 14 or so, they have a pretty rough stretch, I think, because at Kansas City, it's a winnable game, but division rival, it's not easy to win on the road. Against Houston, maybe I just think Houston's maybe a little bit more talented, so I give that one to Houston. At LA is tough, then Pittsburgh's tough. At Cincinnati, very winnable game though, but still playing on the road, so never easy. And then at San Fran, so a lot of these games like they're winnable, but it's almost like a coin flip. So I have them going 7-9. You mentioned it, that San Fran game. I just think it's going to be really good. Two really well-matched teams going at it. And also, back to the divisions. Week 16, they play at Oakland on Christmas Eve, Monday night.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, it's going to be awesome to watch. It'll give you something to do on Christmas Eve. ESPN game. Two division rivals. You know what? And this could very well come down to a wild card game.
Could.
Because I have these teams very close record. I have Oakland winning that game at home, but you know what? If ball bounces Broncos' way, maybe their records could flip. They'll be in that 9-7 spot. You know what? Anything can happen, but
9-7 is good enough to make the wild card in the AFC.
Not in the NFC, but the AFC, it's definitely doable. But yeah, no, that Christmas Eve game, I think it's gonna be phenomenal to watch. And that's it for Denver.
From Mile High to Oakland, California. We'll go with the Oakland Raiders next, and I know that's definitely, we don't talk a lot about the head coaching here, but obviously the biggest offseason acquisition for the Oakland Raiders was John Gruden coming out of retirement to coach the Oakland Raiders again. And I mean, my concern with him is that he's been out of the game too long.
Yeah,
I mean, the game has definitely evolved since he won a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay, and since he's been coaching, and he's been doing Monday Night Football. Still a really knowledgeable guy, but I mean, is he going to be able to make the right decisions and know what he's going to do with his offense? Even with the game, he's been able to adapt to it.
You know what? It may be tough. There may be a transition period for him to really figure it out, but it's not like he hasn't had a part of the game. Like he's been announcing, he's been doing everything he does on ESPN. He was a great coach back then. You know what? There might be a little bit of rust, maybe a little bit of disconnect with the players initially, but I hope he figures it out because he does have a good offense. He got some great guys there. I think this team's going to have a solid year. I just love John Gruden and his sayings on TV, but I'm hoping well for this team, and I hope Gruden can really rally these guys together. And
at least he's got a lot to work with.
Yeah, he certainly
I look at this team, and I see just Pro Bowl talent and Pro Bowl talent and Pro Bowl talent. I mean, obviously start with Derek Carr, one of your favorites.
Always get him on my fantasy team. Have him again this year. Last year, he had a little bit of a setback last year. He had that back injury really early in the season. I think it lingered him throughout the season. His throws weren't as crisp. Also didn't help Amari Cooper was dropping the ball a lot last year. So hopefully he could turn that around. But maybe new offense with Gruden, adding in Jordy Nelson. They also brought in Martavis Bryant. They got some big-time playmaking receivers. They got 3 guys that can really get the job done. You got a good quarterback. So I think the aerial attack for this team should be pretty good.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I look at the wide receiving core, and I just see Cooper, Pro Bowl, Nelson, Pro Bowl, Martavis Bryant, all Pro Bowl caliber guys. I mean, this really, if you look at this wide receiving core, it looks like something out of Madden that you fantasy
It does
draft.
almost. Honestly, it does. It's true.
And it also helps that, you've got a great group of guys up front to help protect it. Kalichi Osemele is one of the best guards in football. They drafted Colton Miller, which I think was a stretch because I really didn't hear about Colton Miller really until really late in my draft process, and hearing him on NFL radio that this could be a sleeper guy, but like late first round, early second round talent, and they took him with that like 10 or 11 or something like that. And I was just dumbfounded. But Ronnie Hudson is another guy that's really good. Gabe Jackson, and then Brandon Parker, another rookie looking slated in there at right tackle to start for them. So the youth is there on the edges, which is my concern, really. But those three guys in the middle should really help Marshawn Lynch get between those tackles.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a bounce back year from Marshawn Lynch. Last year wasn't his best year. He also took the year off beforehand, so maybe a little bit of rust. Maybe he wasn't in the best condition. But
you might get a good 1-2 punch from him and former Tampa Bay Buccaneer running back Doug Martin.
Yeah, no, it's a good change of pace. Doug Martin, more of your shifty guy. He's good catching the ball out of the backfield, which is not Lynch's strength, but Lynch is gonna pound it up there, and he's gonna be good in those short yardage goal line situations. Doug Martin, more of your third down type of back. So I think it's a good pairing. Hopefully the tackles and the offensive line stays healthy. Just it's a really good offense all around. The running back position, I'm a little weary about. Like, those are two good guys. Martin's been hurt though. Hasn't been as good as he was his rookie year, and Lynch, of course, is older up in age. So, but I'm expecting good things from this offense though, and this passing attack I think is probably going to be the best in this division.
And we might see a little bit of carries from Jalen Richard, who was a pretty good third down back for Oakland too. So we might get a nice 3 running back rotation from Oakland. And then we go to this defense, and obviously the biggest question mark is really Khalil Mack and the fact that they just can't get a deal done, and that hurts them because that's their best player.
Oh yeah, no, definitely it's their best player. He's one of the best, probably top 3 best pass rushers in the league right now. Dude's phenomenal. Wrecks havoc, getting to the quarterback, and you just need a guy like that on the field. Like, you have him on your team. He's still young. He's not like he's up there in age. You know, you got to find a way to sign this guy. Like, yeah, he's holding out for more money, but when the guy's this good, you got to make him happy. You got to find a way to keep a player like him, because it's not. You don't get players like this every year. You know, like, he's like a once. You don't get these type of guys, and you got to find a way to keep them. And front office got to find a way to sign them and get them in there.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, you know what? There's some guys where you can just look at them and say, hey, you know, I don't know if I want to give him that much money, because I mean, what have they really done? But Khalil Mack is a guy that's they drafted him. He's been nothing but productive. It's the same with Aaron Donald. I mean, you got the guys that are just producing all these numbers. Just get them paid. It's not that hard. Yeah, you're gonna try and find they think they're probably worth more than they are. Would I give Khalil Mack $80 million, something like that? I don't know. I don't know the market for edge rushers. I'm sure it's not that though. So, yeah. I mean, but it's just you got to find a good balance of it, and you got to get this figured out, because that's definitely
a huge blow. Definitely
a huge blow if they can't get him. But I mean, will they miss him? Probably. But I mean, I still see some good guys. Mario Edwards is a guy that was a young guy manning down that defensive line. Bruce Irvin, a Pro Bowl guy.
Yeah. Seattle. Yeah.
Derek Johnson, former Kansas City Chief, has been so good for the Chiefs within his career. It was a shocker to see them let go of Derek Johnson, but I think John Gruden's going to be really happy with him. And then we go to the secondary, and that's where it's lacking. You know, we haven't seen Gary and Conley play yet because he got hurt last year. Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie, they get him off free agency. He was just with the Giants. So I mean, Carl Joseph is good. He's really good. But other than that, the secondary is what's going to be lacking. And when you're playing teams that are going to really heavily throw the ball, that's a tough situation for them.
For Oakland, I feel like that's been one of their weaker spots, even over the last few years. They haven't had a consistent secondary. They drafted Joseph last year. He was all right. But cornerback-wise, they really haven't had that great corner since Asamoah. Almost it feels like
Right.
it's just a spot they've been missing out on talent. They gotta just try to improve there in the draft coming forward, and they gotta find a way to adapt. And you know what? That's why they really need Mac, because if they could get pressure on the quarterback, they could take some pressure off their corners and their D backs, and it won't put them in those. You have to cover your guy for 3-4 seconds. But you know what? That's their one weakness. Not every team's perfect. You're gonna have your flaws, but it's definitely a big blow, especially when you're going against quarterbacks like Phillip Rivers. Um, so
So
it's not gonna be easy.
no, it definitely isn't. And so, I mean, that's going to be really the key. If Oakland's secondary can step up, then that's what's going to be the difference maker there for Oakland. I think that they're a playoff team. They can get the secondary figured out. So we go to the records, and why don't you start this one off?
Yeah,
What do you got?
I have Oakland going 9-7. They're like right there, like 9-7's like tiebreaker esque, trying to make wild card spot. It's gonna be really close. But no, they're a good team. I think since their offense is more reliable than Denver's, um, they get that little extra bonus with the wins. If they could sign Mac, that's also a huge bonus. So we don't know there. That also could play a huge factor because if Mac doesn't play all season, maybe a few of these games have them winning, they could end up losing. But they're just a good team. But just looking at the schedule, some of these games, Week 17 at Kansas City, just another good divisional game. Oakland, the Chiefs, always play each other well. Should be a very important game for Oakland, just because last week of the season, trying to get a playoff spot. Looking around, it's Pittsburgh's another. It's gonna be a tough game. It's actually a Sunday night game. It's gonna be a good one to watch. Just Pittsburgh's a little bit stronger, but you know what? Oakland's playing at home, so you know what? Maybe that little home field advantage can help them out there. But no, they got a very balanced schedule. It's not like one of those teams that they're getting pounded with superstar team after superstar team, or one of those other teams that have like a very light schedule. They play a lot of moderate games. Like they play the Colts, which should be an easy game. They play Cleveland at home, which should be an easy game for them. But like they're at San Fran, which isn't easy. At Baltimore is definitely going to be a hard game. And Cincinnati's not all that great, but playing there, it's still not going to be an easy matchup. So I think 9-7, it's a good balance. I think slightly better than 500, but they'll have a good year, but nothing great.
Yeah, I mean 9-7. I mean we both hit that right on the same point, and I think I agree. I mean, this is not going to be an easy week one. Obviously, you got to open up with the Los Angeles Rams as a powerhouse, but I think that there's a lot of winnable games here for the Oakland Raiders. I mean, it just you might have a tough stretch. You're playing there. You're playing there. I think they go 0-2. Winning at Miami is going to be winnable in week 3, but they're definitely playing a bunch of teams that's winnable, but also it's going to be tough to be playing on the road for Oakland. I mean, it doesn't. They're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna have a bad first start half of the season, like I have Kansas City. We'll talk about that in a second. But definitely, 0-2 could be a real possibility there before, or even 0-3 if you can't beat Miami at home. So it's going to be tough going into week 4. Then they got to play the Browns, but. I think they'll pick up steam. I'm not really too worried about the Oakland Raiders. I think that it's just the same thing I said before. It's just the secondary. If you can figure that out, you're a playoff contending team. Definitely, 3 games I definitely want are on that list is I like Week 12 at Baltimore. I think those are two really. It's going to be a really good matchup there. Two tough front sevens. Two offenses that one really ground and pound game in Baltimore's with let's see how their secondary, which is always usually pretty decent against the aerial attack with Derek Carr. I like that I like that matchup against Miami. I think it actually could have the potential to be a really good game uh, there, especially with Miami being at home. And then late in the season, again, another could be playoff because I think it's so close knit. Playoff contentions, Week 17 at Kansas City. You know that huge rivalry that Oakland and Kansas City has. It's always interesting to see. I'm pretty sure last year it went on to a couple extra plays, untimed downs last
Yeah,
year,
it
and
was like three
Crabtree
of
got
them,
the
or so, yeah,
yeah.
it
It
was something
was
crazy
some
like that.
crazy. I mean, a lot of crazy things happen in this division, and it's always interesting to watch. So definitely going to be an interesting year for the Oakland Raiders. And now we move on to our last team, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending AFC West Division champions. And I mean, I look at this offense and I say there's not really a lot wrong with it. I mean, yeah, you're going to be stepping in and not having Alex Smith, who's been your consistent guy. I mean, has he been above average for you guys? Last year a little bit, but not really too much. I mean, they traded him away and they went all in on Patrick Mahomes. So that gives you a glimpse of the fact that Andy Reid is now looking towards the future, and he says, you know what, I can't really get over that hump with Smith because they haven't won a playoff game. But I mean, Patrick Mahomes, that man's got a cannon.
Oh, he has a cannon, certainly. Just the inexperience, just one thing as a quarterback, you want as much experience as you get. You know, he's been in the league now. What's this? This is the second year or his
Yeah.
third year? Oh, the second year.
No, yeah, second year.
Second year, yeah.
He was a
So,
rookie
like,
last year.
he does have a year on his belt, but like actual game time, like Alex Smith was the guy last year, got in the playoffs. You don't really know 100% what you're going to expect. Like, yeah, this guy has potential, has a great arm, but what's he going to do on Sundays is what we really need to find out.
Yeah.
But he does have some weapons around him, though, and that could certainly help him out.
Tyreek Deuces Hill.
Yeah, you got Tyreek Hill, you got Kareem Hunt, you got Travis Kelce. So
Sammy Watkins.
he got some guys around him that could certainly help him out. So this offense, it could definitely put up some points.
I mean, Travis Kelce, one of my favorite tight ends in the league. Man, just behind when Gronk's out, that's the best tight end in the league in my opinion. Travis Kelce.
No,
I mean, he can even block too, which makes him really valuable. And then there you go, Royce Freeman. You want an example of what as a mid-round running back, if you don't want to know if you can compete right away and produce numbers, just want to find a guy that's a mid-round talent. Look no further than one of your division guys, because Kareem Hunt came out swinging week 1 last week.
Oh, he certainly came out swinging last year. He was phenomenal. Started off the year on fire. Towards the end of the season, cooled off a bit. So if he could just keep it going, stay consistent throughout the year, this offense is going to put up numbers.
Next man up.
That's no doubt. Mahomes. We just got to hope Mahomes could stay composed, could stay accurate. This team got a lot on offense.
They get Spencer Ware back too from injury, which is why Kareem Hunt is the starter that he is.
Yep.
And then, I mean, it looks good. I mean, even the offensive line, I see Mitchell Schwartz, Eric Fisher was the first overall pick a couple of years ago. Hasn't really been the left tackle that's worth an first overall pick, but definitely not bad at all. Cameron Irving from Cleveland, Mitchell Morse, and then a good offense to say the least. But I mean, you get to the defense, and then all of a sudden, this is where this team starts heading south. Because I mean, you lose a lot of guys. You don't have Tom Bahali anymore. You don't have Derek Johnson. Those are guys that have been so key to your offense. Yes, you still have Justin Houston, who's one of the best pass rushers in the league, but you also lose Marcus Peters, and that was your best corner. So I mean, just defensively, you're struggling here. I mean, there's still guys that contribute a lot to this team. I mean,
you got Eric Berry.
Berry's still one of the better safeties, even coming back from. I see Orlando Scandrick, who could definitely probably step into a role, but I see the holes on defense, and I think it might be a problem.
Yeah, no, certainly. It's actually a crazy thing because 3 years ago or so, this defense was phenomenal. Like they get after the passer. They were great. This Chiefs team has been really good for the last few years, and they really relied on their defense, and they just lost a lot of those guys. Traded away Peters. it's not going to be easy. You know what? Even though this offense, it has the weapons. Young quarterback may hurt them a bit, but you got to step it up on defense because Raiders are going to put up points, Chargers are going to put up points, and Denver got some guys on offense, but their defense is phenomenal, so they're going to hold your offense. So you're going to have to find a way to really pull it together with this defense. They got some guys, like we said, like Barry and Houston, but they're really going to need some support around them to figure it out.
And then let's go to the records. You can start this one off
Yeah,
again.
I have KC going 6-10. Probably the best record I've given any last place team in a division. You don't want to be last place, but that just goes to show like this is the closest division that we've covered. KC, best worst team in any division, but they just have some tough games. They play New England, play Jacksonville. Like you said, they're in a tough division, so that's already hurting them.
They came in first place, so they got to play. They
Yeah.
got to play the Jaguars, and they got to play New England.
They're playing the Rams. They're playing a lot of really good teams. You know what? Then that's also not going to help them out. So
No.
they easily have the hardest schedule of any of the teams that
Right.
we've already covered. It's going to be a tough time for them. So what you have the Chiefs doing this year?
I got 6-10 too, but I mean, I think that it's just because I think their first half of this schedule, I mean, is as tough as it gets. I mean, you're on the road 2 weeks in a row against the Chargers team. I think that we think is the best in the division as a playoff team. Then at Pittsburgh, I mean, you're home, but it's against San Francisco, who I think can easily pull out a win. It's just, I mean, then you're playing at Denver, against Jacksonville, at New England. I don't have
They
a
can
pick
start
up.
off 0-6.
You potentially start off 0-6, and that's the problem. I mean, and how do you bounce back from that?
It's tough. It's a crazy thing because as good as the Chargers were last year, start off 0-5, finish 9-7, and they still missed it. So if you're start off 0-6, 1-5, it's just tough to bounce back from, and especially in this division because you still got to play the Raiders, Denver, and the Chargers again. So it's not going to be an easy ride for KC. Like they're a solid team, but they just got really tough matchups. Going through the schedule, I think a close game for them could be Week 16 at Seattle. I think it's a winnable game for them. It's actually another night game, the Sunday night game. Just two solid teams. I'm curious to see how Seattle's defense isn't that good anymore, but I think that's just two good teams going at it. They're fairly well matched. Monday night against LA, you know, it's always going to be a good game. Just division rivals going at it. KC divisional winner last year. I think Chargers going to end up winning it this year. So just another good Monday night game. I know it's tough because a lot of these teams, you know, they play a lot of really hard games to start off, and it's not going to be an easy ride for them. The end of their schedule, it calms down a bit. It's a little bit easier, but I don't know. It's just going to be a tough season for KC.
Yeah, and I mean, my 3 games really, if they can pull off a win week 3 against San Francisco, I think that's going to be a game to watch because I think that's really their mark before they have to play a bunch of tough games. That's really their winnable game within that stretch of 6 games that I think that they can do it. Week 7 against the Bengals, I think 2 teams that could potentially fall at the bottom of their division, lose, and then you're gonna have to go those 2 games against Oakland. I think they're very that you just can't not watch an Oakland Raiders Kansas City Chiefs game. It's just impressive. It's really something to watch because something interesting always happens. But that'll do it from our division breakdowns. That's pretty much where we're gonna go. We might look back at at our schedules and maybe even come off with a playoff predictor, where we think each team's gonna lay from where the records that we set down. Might do end of the season awards, but we'll definitely keep the content fresh and keep getting them at you, even though we're done with our breakdown.
Oh yeah, no, certainly. But you know what? Week one, it's not this weekend. It's next weekend, but it's coming
It's
up. It's
coming.
right around the
We
corner.
got this done right in time.
Yeah.
So,
So
from my co-host Nick Smith, the Stick, I'm Justin Connolly. We will see you next time.